So this video has been recorded following a conversation that's taken place between myself and a previous colleague I've worked with previously some time ago. Now they reached out to me because they've developed an interest in test automation. That's an area which they want to learn more from. And from conversations, I explained to them that it's not something that I've been actively doing for some time now, but I still have practice tests I've done personally, just for personal development, not to not professionally, just to keep the skill going and keep the skill set refreshed, so it doesn't become dormant, or I don't really forget some of it. So from time to time, I'll jump on here and play around with some of the tools, just so like I said, if any opportunity comes for me to use it again at a professional level, then I can basically use these skill sets or transfer the skills basically. So like I said before, this is not to for any monetary gain at all whatsoever, purely for the educational use only. And yes, so hopefully once I send him the link to this video on YouTube, he can have a look at it and then see basically see what's involved. Um, this is one of them. I will do another one for him, so at least he has a variety of which options to choose. So with this one in particular, this is going to be automating using Visual Studio, and C Sharp is going to be the syntax we're going to use in here. And also this is SpecFlow, automation with SpecFlow, basically. Like I said, I'll do another one separately with Java, and that will be Selenium with Cucumber. So that will come eventually after this. So yes, if we have a quick look at what we're trying to achieve with this project, I found an e-commerce website here, one that I use myself. I shop on, buy things from here, and one which at the time when I was looking to put this together, I thought, okay, this will be a decent challenge for me to try and, since I use it from time to time, try and automate basically what I tend to do, when I'm personally going on here to shop. So M&M Direct is the site that we're going to use, and what we're essentially trying to achieve is we're trying to generate a user experience where we will force I guess the machine or SpecFlow to come on here and mimic basically user actions. So the intention is for the system to land on here, and at the very first attempt, they'll be prompted with this cookies prompt. So it will come on here, it will select all cookies, and we have this browser notification, so to say, which it will select one of these, basically either accept it or dismiss it. So I guess from memory, how it's been done when I did it some long time ago is for it to get rid of that prompt by selecting allow. Okay, and one of the tests which I'm going to show is a simple text basically. So come on here, search for a product. So if we do, let's just say Nike trainers, because I love Nike trainers. So select Nike trainers, for example. It would then take you to the search results page. I'll put well, it doesn't matter, I guess. But I see the typo I put in there. So once the search results page come, it will select from one of the products products that's been returned from the search, or possibly it might expand these filters and maybe select from these before making a selection to the right. But essentially, it will click on one of the return products. So let's just click on this one, for instance. And then what it will do is it will select maybe some colors. It might select the size as well. And it will, at this point, add it to basket, and I think it navigates back to the search results. So let's just say if we were to go back one more, go back on there again, add it to basket, and eventually that will be one aspect of the test. It will then try to sign in using some, not my real account, which I use when I'm personally shopping, but it's just a dummy account, just for test purposes. It will log into that account, and then it will add certain products to a wish list. Once it does this, it will then remove them basically from that wish list. This is like a tear down script. So the whole point of that test is to go on here, find the product, select the size, add it to the wish list, and then once it's done, it's done. But because this is an automated test, if I keep on running the same thing, we cannot keep on logging onto that account and adding wish lists basically. So what it should do then, once it's achieved that goal, it will then remove items that's been added onto that wish list. So that's the basically in summary, that's what we're trying to achieve. So if we come back into our IDE, Visual Studio in this instance, I'm using the page object model on here. And as you can see on the right side, I've categorized things into folders. We've got a drivers folder, which at the moment there's not much in there. But our project, basically our project, how I've named it is M&M Direct Example project. So that's our solution, and then in there is the example project, as you can see on here. And before we go any further, we have some dependencies which are needed to set up our framework. So if I go into the manage NuGet packages, so once it's loading, this is we have many packages which can be installed depending on what type of project you're trying to build. But if we go into installed, which is what has been installed for this project, I've installed few which I think will be needed for this. So one of them is .NET Selenium Estrus. We've got some extend reporting, so to show us how the tests have run, passed, failed, that sort of thing. If we then go through them again, we've got .NET, Microsoft .NET Test SDKs. We've got NUnits. We've got the Selenium WebDriver in here as well, and then we've got the SpecFlow plugin, and then Gherkin. Do we have Gherkin in here? I think so. Yeah, we've got Gherkin as well. No, we've not installed Gherkin. But in a nutshell, that can be installed as well if we need. But Gherkin is working otherwise. So I believe what else have we installed? But yeah, in a nutshell, if we look at some of these dependencies or configurations that are needed for the project to run, some of these have been installed. But we can cover that later on if you have any if you have any much questions about this. So that's that done, and then how I've established or how we've started the framework is we've added some pages which we will be automating, I guess. So I've put them into folders in here. So one of the pages is I've got a user account page. I've put that into a subfolder because there'll be more pages to create. Now, as you can see, I've named these classes as a page. So for example, customer account page, and then I've got account login page. I've got home page. I've got product page. I've got product search results page, wish list page as well. So these are all pages. So if you can remember, as I mentioned beginning, once we go into the landing screen, we then search for a product and it takes us to the product results page. So that will be the search results page. So this page will contain element locators which sit on that page. The home page will contain some locators that sit on that page, and then eventually the product page. And then I guess you get the gist from. I guess from here you'll get the gist. So each page will contain its own elements because we're going to interact with these pages, each of these pages individually. So if you pick the home page, for example, we have our constructor in here, and also yeah, you have a constructor in here to initialize the web driver, and then we have our defining web elements in here. So very briefly, I've got my account link, which if we were to go on the home page here, that's that link there. So if this is the element that sits behind that link. And then likewise, we've got things like search file field homepage. We've got cookies, the cookies banner, which I said at the beginning, that will be accepted before we can proceed to test. We've got the browser banner for notifications, which I mentioned as well. We've got a wish list button, which there's one of it in the home page, which I believe is there, my wish list. And then there's a search button as well, which once you key information in here and click search, it will click on that basically. And then yep, we've got methods which I've put here for each of these web elements. So if we go through one of them, it says on here public wish list page, and then click on my wish list link. Okay, so or essentially what this is trying to achieve here is that on this wish list page, which is where we are, yeah, which is where we are wanting. Once you're on the home page and we click on that wish list link, we are wanting to navigate onto the wish list page. So we have on here, so driver.find element, my wish list button. Is once it finds that button, the action then is for it to click it. And when it clicks it, it returns to the wish list page. So that's what we're trying to achieve. So on the home page, click on that wish list link, and then they should take you to the wish list page. So that's one of them. There's another one for the confirm the latest offers banner. That is not going to any other page. It's just keeping you on the same home page. So that should return back to the home page as you are. And then if we go through here, let's find something else that's not click. We've got some send keys, which is basically us inputting data into a search field, shall I say. So what we're trying to do in here is, again, on the home page, we want to search for the word trainers. So what we're doing is we're finding the element for that search field. The search field is here. So the search field on the home page, which if we look here, search field on the home page, the element behind that text field is main search text, and it's an ID we're using. So that's the element locator for it. So once we find it, we ask the WebDriver to key in these words in there, and that will happen. Once we finish that, we then tells it to enter. Then once it enters, it will take us to the search page results, and then that'll be basically that's the aim of this one as well. And then again, we have a few more, and we've got another search, which is a smartwatch. So that's basically that. So that's that for the home page. If you come on to the product page itself, similar structure to the home page. We've got our constructor here to run our WebDriver, and we've got some few elements on here. So one of them is select the drop down size. So these are, again, element locators, but then we've given them variables. So rather than writing the whole long locator, we just call the variable anywhere in this framework, and then it will know that this is where it's from. If you're calling it from another page, you might have to reference the page and then reference the locator that sits inside that page. Don't try not to. I'm using page not so it doesn't confuse you, because obviously you are new to this. You're trying to learn more, but as time goes on, every time I say page, I'm referring to classes. So each of these classes will have its own properties in there, which is in this instance like your locators or information regarding that page. So if we go down again, similar structure to before, we've got a few actions. These are actions to perform on the page. We've got number of clicks, and so I think yeah, on this page it's mostly clicks. And then for the purpose of our test, we're going to use a wishlist page test. So if we go on that wishlist page, we've got our locators. Few locators so far. It's still in development. Like I said, it's not something I'm actively playing with every day. I don't use it professionally, so it's literally when I'm bored or I feel like maybe I've not been playing with it so much. So if I feel like I'm being a bit rusty, I'll come on here, practice it a little bit, and then bring back refreshing my mind basically with regards to the skills. So that's that. We've got a few clicks on this page as well. I mentioned before that one of the things one of the objectives of our test is to add things into the wish list page, and then at the end, once it's done all of that, do like a tear down. So what's a part of that is to remove. So at some point, it's going to navigate onto the wish list page. It's going to click on the remove icon. Behind that sits an element locator, and then click on it. So that should remove it. So that's in a nutshell the pages. And yes, this is work in progress, so we'll add more to it. So that's our pages being done. If we move on to our hooks class, hooks is basically the quickest way to explain it is basically our pre-requirements. So we need this for our test to run. We need certain things to take place before our tests can run. So here is where we add things like we give a few more configuration. So our details about our WebDriver, and we've got a few things like before scenarios. So what should happen before a test is run? Maybe in which order in which we want to run those as well. And we've gone here. So this before scenario, what we're trying to achieve here. Again, like I said, as soon as you land onto this page in the background, there's a browser pop-up that comes, which is a notifications one, and this is the actions to get rid of it. Basically, that's that. And then there's an after scenario as well. So the first one is the first one deals with that banner, and then the second one deals with the Chrome WebDriver. And once it does that, there's a maximize the window page. So rather than it showing it like this way, it will give you full screen basically. And then the second one is it says on here, so I've given like a title here. So register the WebDriver instance for dependency injection as well. So that's that. And then again, once it does everything, it needs to quit. So it gets rid of the browser once it runs the test. So that's our hooks class in a quick summary. We then have our features. So features is basically where we put our our um, our BDD behavior-driven development test. So basically, where we write our Gherkin syntax or our instructions, basically. So if you look at any product development team, we have our user stories being written, which indeed nowadays in the agile field is done by our BAs or whoever's in charge in the product team that does these. Half of the time is written in Gherkin syntax. So your typical example, you're given when and then. So we put that into the framework, um, into what we call feature files. So these are our features. If we pick the first one, which we're trying to run, I've titled the feature as adding items to a wish list. It's not necessarily the most accurate way of doing it, but bear in mind this is just for practice, and so that's that. And then here I've given like a brief explanation as to what we're trying to achieve. So testing the wish list feature by adding items to it. That's what we're trying to achieve, right? And then I've got a scenario, which is adding items to a wish list. And then I've got our instructions, just like you'd see in a traditional work environment where you'd pick a user story and you'd have your requirements on there and what we're trying to achieve on that user story. So on here, I've got given the user is on the landing page, and the user selects user searches for watches, and they select a few watches from the search results. Uh, then the watches should be added to the wish list. I think I've removed a line in here because it was creating some problems and I didn't have the time to resolve it. And then when it removes the items from the wish list, then the item should be removed. So that's literally what we're trying to achieve with this test. Like any given, real life example of a user story where you'd have some requirements on there and then would go away as QAs and validate them to make sure that it's been developed how it's been asked for by the business. And then literally that's what we're trying to achieve here using a tool to get that done for us. As you can see, I've got tag one at the top, but without confusing you at the moment, I'll come back to that as to why we have that. So behind a feature file sits what we call step definition. So we've got our requirements here, but we need some actions to run that requirement, right? So that is where step definitions come in. So each of these line will have some set of instructions that sits behind it, telling it what to do. Well, instructing the WebDriver what to do, basically. So if I right click on here and I go to definition, that brings me to this class. So in my step definition folder, I've got a number of classes. Each of these classes represent a user file or feature file, shall I say. So each of these feature files will have tests to run. That could be anything really, but the instructions that sit behind them can be found within the step definition. I hope that you're with me so far. And this is, in a nutshell, this is our step definition or instructions, or some people will even say code, to run our first test, which is adding items to the wish list. Okay, so in here, we come in here and we have our few instructions. So obviously, we call in the WebDriver to manage this for us. And I've put in here homepage, account login page, customer account page, and then wishlist page, which all sit in here so far. Now these are all dependent on my these are some of these are required for my test to run. One being the home page, I need to access the home page class so I can pick elements from it and tell it to do things, and then so forth. So each of these pages I would need to touch at some point in my test. So therefore I need to reference them here and then give them a variable so I can call them within my instructions somewhere down here. Okay. So the first things first is us telling the driver uh, what to do. So public, and then adding items to wish list step definitions, which is literally that class, the class that we are currently in. And then we've got the WebDriver here. Okay, so some details around the WebDriver. So the first one is literally our first line of test. So if we go back into our features, it says on here, so given the user is on the landing page and the user selects searches for watches. So then if we come back to the step definition page, so the first one says, given the user is on the landing page, so that satisfied that first line of test in here. And what we want to do is come on the home page, home page class, use it with the WebDriver, and then we will select, we will try and target this link, which is the website for here, right? And when we are on there, we will try and accept the cookies. So as you can see on here, homepage is that class, and in that class, there's an element locator for the cookies banner, and I've titled it or given it a variable and also an action, and I've titled the action click on the cookies accept banner. So first of all, navigate to the website, wait for 3.5 seconds. So that's what the thread.sleep is. Because sometimes WebDriver runs at a pace whereby the website itself doesn't have enough time to render. So if the WebDriver is operating faster than the response of the site, then that can cause our test to fail because there could be a timeout issue because it will get there faster than the page can load. It will be thinking and waiting, and then it will time out because it literally can't see what it's looking for. So you will see me drop this in my test frequently. Just so, first of all, I don't want it to run so fast that when you're watching it, you don't really know what's going on because it's traveling at the speed of light. So if we put some pauses in here, then at least we can try and mimic like a real life user experience where it's going at a steady rate, so you can actually keep up with the flow whilst you watch it as a human. So I've put 3.5 seconds to wait once it logs onto that page, and then after the 3.5 seconds is achieved, because I believe that should give the site enough time to catch up with the WebDriver. It should then click on the accept cookies banner or accept cookies button, and then at that point it waits as well. As you can see, I've commented out some things I was trying to achieve here. I believe I wasn't finding a solution for it. This is to do with the banner and the browser side banner. Now, there's limitations as to what you can automate, and some of the limitations, browser notification is one of them. You can inspect the elements, but uh, Selenium or any automation tool really sometimes do struggle with it. So as you can see, I had something in here to try and catch it, wait for it, and then report back to say it's been found or it's not being found. But it was just struggling to achieve anything. So rather than deleting it because I thought maybe it might be useful later, I just commented it out. But for now, it's of no use to us. So anyway, we then carry on. So that ends this first line in our feature file. The next line says, giving the user searches for watches. So as you can see on here, I've declared my home page, which I need because that's where this test will be run on. I've also put search results page because in this same action, we are moving from one page and then we'll go to the other page. So I've declared that page here because I will, uh, I've basically declared that page here for now. So on the home page, search for smartwatch. So this search for smartwatch is basically an action, and behind the action is a set of commands. So look for the element locator for the search button, and then key some information in there. I believe it's smartwatch as to what we saw before. And then once you do that, wait for a few seconds again, and then click on the search button, which is this one here. So again, behind this is also a set of action as well, which is find that button and then click it. So that's achieves the second one, and then without going through all of this because it's quite a lengthy one. The third one is here. So when user selects a few watches from the search results, uh, again, no, reference the pages which we would need, which depending on my test to run on here. And then what I've done is on that search results page, once we are there, reflect smart. It says reflect smart watch one. So it searches for a smart watch called Reflex, and then it will click on that basically. And then once it clicks on that, I think if I can go on here, you see that. So that is what it's trying to call on this page. And then in here is search for that smartwatch and then click it. So that is that. If I go back onto the step definition and then we can carry on. So once it clicks it, it takes it to the product page, which is here, what we've declared on line 88. On that line 88, it then clicks a drop down button for the watch size, and then it selects a size from the drop down menu, once it selects that size, another action is for it to click on the add wish list. And again, there is another one here as well. Once you click on the add wish list, I believe it prompts you to enter your username because it's adding it to your account's wish list. Enter your password and then click on continue. And then from there, you perform a few other actions really. So without boring you so much so far, I think the rest we can pick it up once you have. I'm sure you're going to have plenty more questions for me, and then I can address them for you once you start playing with it. So once that is done, once all our tests have been achieved, I think if we come to the very bottom, the last two instructions is to remove the item from the wish list. So once they are on the right wish list screen, click on remove icon, click on continue button because there's a continue prompt, and then I guess maybe click on few. There'll be few items we are trying to add, and then we'll be removing them, which is why this is repeated a few times. So that is that. And then the last instruction here is we will validate if those items we removed here have been actually removed. So the first one on here, locate the element for your for the thing you're trying to do. And no, sorry, my apologies, I got that wrong. So locate for an element which says the wish list is empty. It's just basically a text on the page that says your page wish list is empty. So once you see this text appear on that wish list page, then clearly it's empty, which validates that we've removed the things at the top. Now, if the things are in there, you will not see this. Your wish list is empty statement. Therefore, at that point, the test will fail because it can't see this at all, right? And then it says on here, so I said that the element is not displayed on the page. So obviously, if this is displayed, then it should validate and fail, and then it will return a message that says revisit your code because there's still items on that page. So therefore, your test has not been achieved. So in a nutshell, that's what the step definition is about. It's literally your Gherkin instruction on here, your Gherkin test that you're trying to run, your test case, and then the instruction that sits behind it, each of the tests, each step that you try, each thing you're trying to achieve, or each test you're trying to achieve within your Gherkin. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much it. We can go into utilities, but so far just let's leave it as that. This is to do with extend reporting, and that's to do with once your test is run, generally in Visual Studio it will come back to let you know what's passed, what's failed. But then if you want it in a more presentable manner, in a much more fancier manner, then we can configure those here. I've not had the time to fully look into. I think I was having some problems when I was putting this together initially. So therefore, I just commented it out to stop my test from failing. So that's that. So like I said, this is in a nutshell our framework. Is like I said, page object model is what I've used, which means um, putting my categorizing my element locators into classes, which makes it easier. Should there be a problem, should one day I come on here and my test fails because maybe the webmaster or somebody has made some changes, tweaked the element locators, my test will come back as failed, and I can quickly establish that, all right, okay, the locator as failed probably sits in the search results page. I can then come on here and then update it simply without having to um, go into each of these step definitions to update it manually. Once I update it here once, everywhere will take effect. It's another form of like refactoring. I guess the locators basically. So yes, if my test is done, if I build my project, hopefully builds successfully, and as you can see, build one succeeded and none of it has been failed, so we are good to go. So within Visual Studio, we've got a tab at the top called Test. We've got a Test Explorer in here, and this is from my previous run. So some of them has I believe I run all of these, and these are what run came back as passed in green. These I believe were not run or had some problems with them, but I've not had time to look at them. Um, if you look at this one in particular, this is running the test we are going to run in a minute. It took 1 minute, just short of 2 minutes to run, and the outcome was that it passed. Okay, so if we select that and run, and then we can watch what happens. Um, so it builds, and then it tries to navigate to the page. Like I said, it finds that cookies. It clicks it. There was a 3 second delay. There will be a further 3 seconds again before it does the next thing. It's typed smartwatch in the search field. It then finds the search button and clicks it. And then in the search page, it looks for our smartwatch. It's found it here. And I believe it searches the drop down and select a size. Okay. And then it will click on the add wish list. When it does that, it brings us to this page where it asks us to type in our login details for our account and our password. So as you can see, the WebDriver is doing all of that for us based on the instructions we put in the framework. So that's that. It's now supposedly added it to that user, and it's trying to do something else again. I think, yeah, so it's added it now. It's searching for another smartwatch to add. I think there were two on that page. There we are. So it will add the second one. Okay. And it will basically repeat the same action it did on that first one it added. So select the size and select the add to wish list as well. Yep. Okay. And then now it's come to our wish list page on my account. As you can see, we've got the two items that we've added, and the first one has been removed. There was a continue button when we went through the steps, and it's clicked on that as well. Clicked on this one as well, and then it will validate that your wish list is currently empty. Hopefully you saw that as it went through it there. And then it returns to say our test has passed. This time around, it took 2 minutes. Previously, when we looked at it, it was 1 minute, 8 seconds. So you can see uh, the duration of the run will not always be the same. Literally depends on how quick the website renders, shall I say. So that's that. Um, so yeah, you can run them collectively, or we can run them one by one. And yeah, I think the last time I ran it collectively, all in all, it took 2 minutes, 6 seconds. So that was good. Two of them ran fine. Two of them did not pass. This one is to do with updating user address on an account. I would need to revisit it as to see as to I guess debug it really to see why it didn't pass. Let's just run it for now. So this one is to do with updating a user's address. That's the test I'm trying to achieve on this. Okay. So it says on here one of them has not been run. It will probably give us more detail as to why it's not been run. And it says on here there's no matching step definition found for one of the steps, one or more of the steps. And if we scroll down, we can then establish which step definition it didn't find. So I think maybe I started to create the test itself in here, but I never gave it any real instruction there. And then if we look at this one again, yeah, so the step one or more step definitions has not been implemented. So I've not finished implementing that test before I went on to do something else. So in a nutshell, this is what we're trying to achieve with SpecFlow. The syntax between this, which is basically C sharp, and Java is slightly different. There's not a vast difference in the both languages. There's some similarities for sure, but again, it will probably be clearer once I show it in the other video, which I will put together for you. So that is done. I did also mention that within here sits what we call tags. So we can use tags to run a group of tests, or yeah, to run a group of tests basically. So assuming we want to run tests that relate to um, wish list. So assuming we have a test suite full of a number of feature files relating to wish list, right? And we want to run that suite alone. So we only want to run tests in here that is to do with wish list. We can put a tag in here and give it any name. We can literally write say wish list in here. And then likewise, not in the page, it will be in the step definition. We can nominate that tag in here as well. And then what we can do is we can just run any test that contains just that tag wishlist. Therefore, it will skip any other test that doesn't have the tag wishlist. So it's really helpful to run just a set of tests and not everything. If that makes sense. So in a nutshell, that's what you'll be doing if you once you get into automation on a professional capacity. You'll probably have a framework set up for you already by the time you join a company, most likely, and then it's going to be a case of updating it, maintaining it basically. You pick a test and then you see what it's trying to achieve. Occasionally, you might have to tweak things slightly, and then run it that way. So that's in a nutshell what we're trying to achieve in here. We can go further on as to adding source control and your Gits, how we can link this to Jenkins and how we can manage it at that level before putting it into putting the code itself or the product itself into production. But yes, feel free to reach out to me in case you find any of this confusing, or if there's any more you want me to clarify, or if even if it's been helpful. Yeah. All right then. Thank you. Bye bye.